Hi, Julio.
Aloha.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for being my guest today in this Newcomers series. So, as you know, this series is called Newcomers, and we've never talked about this. So, we are classmates, but I learned a lot about you regarding the fact that you're not actually from Canada, but even though you've lived here for so long. So, let me start. How long have you been in Calgary for, and what brought you to the city?
Um, so I've been in Calgary for about I want to say 15 or so years now. Um, it's actually like the second place we've lived in, at least in Canada. When we first got here, we were in Hamilton. Um, and then my dad had found like a really good job opportunity working in oil and gas. So we moved over here to Alberta the year after.
That's amazing. And originally, where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from Orlando, Florida. I stayed there until I was about I want to say like 7 or so, 6, 7. And then we just immigrated up north.
Cool. Do you consider yourself as a newcomer?
Honestly, no, and it's not just because like I've became like a Canadian citizen in recent times. It's just more so like the experiences that I've had, like I've made friends, I've made enemies, I've fallen in love, I've been heartbroken. It's like the culmination of like all these experiences, right? Um i i can't see myself having them in like any other country other than Canada. Whether my experiences like in the States would have been better, or like in Europe, or like wherever else like in the world. You know it really wouldn't have mattered or made sense to have those if it like wasn't in Canada. So I wouldn't really consider myself, like a newcomer here anymore.
You said that you lived in Florida till you're about 7 years old. I'm assuming you maybe have a little bit of vague memories of Florida.
Oh yeah, I have quite a few. Um, yeah, so we used to we used to hit up the beach like after church quite often. But from where we were, Naples to like the closest beach was quite a bit of a drive, right? And so right after church, we would just like book it right down there. And then just like have like a great old time. It's usually just like hanging out with like the family, talking with like cousins and like other church members, just like eating, just like just casual like American barbecue things.
Yeah. So in that case, since you do have a little bit of memories in Florida, do you think that you may have some challenges when you came here as a 7-year-old? And if so, what has been your greatest challenge in coming here?
um I think the greatest challenge of all is the challenge of weather. Because yeah, when we first came to Canada, it was over the summer, right? So it's still pretty warm outside. We thought it was like a little bit colder. So we used to like go out in like big sweaters and stuff like that. Um but it was still like very like warm climate. And then winter first hit, and we had no idea what snow was. My parents are from Haiti, right? So there's nothing of the sorts that ever like go like hits over there. um and yeah, growing up in like especially in like in Florida, it was just it's either super sunny or it's raining, right? So the idea that there's like other types of weather like snow or hail or like all that stuff was just like foreign. So yeah, like when if the first snowfall in Hamilton, I think at the time was like blizzard like conditions. um so we had never experienced it, so we went outside, and like like the sweaters that we were wearing before, like in like the warmer months and stuff like that, because we thought like it's not going to be anything different, and we were incredibly wrong. Like it was freezing in there, and we were outside for like a good 5 minutes or so, but it felt like an eternity. So like when we like went back inside like our apartment, like we it took everything we had to like warm up. It's quite crazy. But yeah, like even like today, like weather is still something that like I'm trying to get used to. Um, Especially Calgary weather, because it's just insane. It's all over the place. But yeah, I think that was like the biggest one for us.
So I'm going to assume that snow doesn't bring you a lot of joy.
Oh, here's the crazy thing. Like, um, I I enjoy looking at snow, right? I enjoy like snow season and stuff like that. I just don't like dealing with it, you know? Like when it's like snowing super hard, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so pretty. You know, it reminds me of like the first time in Florida, or not in Florida, sorry, in Hamilton. But then when my parents send me outside to, shovel the snow and stuff like that, that's when I start to hate it.
In that case, what brings you the greatest joy in Calgary and just by living here?
The greatest joy, I would say, um, it's just the fact that I've been able to, make as many friends as I had, have like all these experiences. When we had first moved like to Canada, we were always moving like around a lot. So growing up for me, it was very hard just like making friends because I'd have to do it like every like new semester or every other year. Um, and then when we finally decided like, Calgary's like the place that we're gonna stick it in, like this is where we like, put our names in the ground and stuff. That's when I really started to like appreciate, like, all the experiences that I've had and all the connections that I've made. So I think that like yeah, like the greatest joy was just like being in Calgary. Calgary like it's a great place despite the weather conditions and stuff. Like I really like do enjoy like, the Calgary Stampede and like going over to like, downtown and like the core and all these like different places. There's a lot of different like perspectives and like, cultures just coming in and like clashing. And I think Calgary does it pretty well.
If you were to go back in time, what advice would you give yourself on your first week here as a newcomer?
Well, I think the biggest one is get a bigger jacket. But I think honestly is to just not take those experiences for granted, because I was moving around a lot. There's like, a lot of people and like a lot of like things and like that I've done that I just like, couldn't like fully like enjoy because I thought, like I'm just gonna be moving on to like another place like at some point, like it doesn't really matter. Um but honestly like those experiences like they pretty much shape me like I am who I am because of that. So yeah, definitely like, just like not take those like experiences for granted and just like enjoy being like in a new area, especially if this area is like the place that you're going to call home.
I know you said that you don't consider yourself as a newcomer here. I think I agree with you. I'm an immigrant too. Even though I sometimes often feel like my culture, my Middle Eastern cultures often conflicts with the Western culture I was raised in. So my next question for you is, what have been some surprises about your life in Calgary?
Some surprises, eh? Hmm.
Do you often think that because your parents have a Haitian background that may conflict in the way that you are being raised here in Calgary, that you say, you know what, this is surprising to me because I'm raised here and this is not something I'm familiar with?
I don't think there like really has been like that sort of like surprise. Like I still grow up like around like a lot of Haitians and Haitian culture and foods and stuff like that. But my parents are very open to I guess like Western culture and stuff, right? So they get integrated like pretty well. Um and I guess that in and of itself is like a surprise that they were able to, come to like this new land and like experience all these different cultures while still like, telling their children like about theirs and like, keeping on like the richness and like the traditions that we've like held on for like, generations now. Um I guess yeah, that would be like the biggest surprise.
And how do you think your life is different from recent or past immigrant experiences in Calgary?
Um I wouldn't say it's like too different. Yeah, well, like Calgary or Canada, just in general, we share like a lot of like cultural similarities to the U.S. And so coming here, just really didn't change all too much for me.
My last question, Julio, is can you define what a newcomer means to you?
So for me, a newcomer is someone that's come from like any part of the world, right? Uh, and are trying to come into like this new land, right? And just like create their own experiences and have their own like moments while still trying to like uphold like the values that they've had from like the different parts, right? And just trying to find a way to like, you know, meet them both like 50-50 to like balance those parts out. Um, because I know for like my parents, it was exactly that. They come from like Haiti and like the Caribbeans and stuff like that, and so coming into like a Western, more like modern. I wouldn't say modern, but like sort of more um, multicultural and diverse land. Sort of finding that balance between how to express yourself and your culture, sorry, while also like integrating into a part of like another culture was a little bit of a challenge for them. um and it's something that like I still think that they're trying to understand and comprehend and stuff, which I think is great because like it does show that they're make moving in like the right steps. um but yeah, for a lot of newcomers, I feel like that's pretty much like their experience. Just coming in and like understanding like the land and like the history, right, and finding out like where you fit into that place. Which is sort of why I wouldn't call myself a newcomer anymore, because I did take that time to like learn about like Canada and its histories, and like different cultures that like that I'm going to be like interacting with like day to day, and sort of like finding my own image. So yeah, I very much say that that is what a newcomer is.
Thank you so, so much. I truly appreciate your time. I had a pleasure talking to you about this. I don't think we've ever in class actually focused on that subject. I think it's just because um, we don't care per se. We all, in my opinion, I think we all belong to this country. We're all Canadian. And yeah,
100%.
we do probably share a little bit of our own cultural history. Probably, I would say, I think for you and me, mostly through food. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
so I would say that's probably the best thing about being mixed up cultures. And I truly am very grateful that I got to know you better in terms of a newcomer perspective. Even though I don't consider myself as a newcomer, I don't, and you don't either. But it's nice to know that, you know what, um, that we're shining a light on the word newcomer as a positive. I think some people probably view it as a negative, but to me, it's a positive because the more you bring in from different cultural backgrounds, regardless, and you merge them into this new Canada, in my opinion, it just makes a greater Canada and makes a greater family and a greater Canadian family. So I truly appreciate your time, Julia. Thank you so so much.
Thank you for having me. This is great. It
Yeah.
was great talking to you.